this new ID charges for IDs and passports suspended. Why? Because of this and the other. Okay. Today's headline is where is the Standard? It's about the 22222. Okay. E-citizen school fees blow for defiant Ruto. The one name that you'll see in many of these cases is our guest this morning. He is a consultant, trauma and general surgeon, but he has also decided to be a defender of human rights. Dr. Magare Gikenyi from Nakuru. Good morning, Dr.
Good morning, Chigo Eric.
Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation.
Welcome.
Welcome to the hot seat of the Situation Room. We are honored to have the presence of a great man with us here today.
Well, thanks a lot.
Karibu sana.
Asante.
How is Nakuru?
Nakuru is doing well. It's a very good city. So it's on a count with 6 lakes. So once you are tired of doing your work, you can come and see very good natural environment in the Rift Valley. Yes.
Ndu, can you count the 6 lakes in Nakuru County?
Let me try.
Start.
Naivasha.
1.
Elementaita.
2. The county is
Nakuru.
called?
Nakuru.
3.
Gosh, I was like, it's called. Did I say Elementaita?
Yes, you did.
No, there's always TC says, and France.
And Elementaita.
And Elementaita.
And
Nakuru. And Naivasha. Those are 6.
What are the other 3, Dr.
But we'll continue with that.
We'll continue.
Okay.
So you'll tell us as we go.
Yes.
Also, Nakuru is where Keringet is in Nakuru.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
And the water bottling company is there.
Yes.
Water is bottled at source at Keringet by Keringet. And they're saying, own your richness. City. Tell him why.
Well, as a medical doctor, he will understand this perhaps a lot more keener than others. And he will tell you what minerals do to your body and the supplementary work that it does. Every part of your body needs water. And what the minerals do, they ensure that all the units of your body now function well. Whether it is calcium helping with your bones, whether it is zinc that is helping with your immune system, whatever minerals that you may think of, many of these minerals are actually found in Keringet. You will find magnesium, you will find calcium, you will find sodium. Now, water, when you're told it's life, you assume, well, you feel good, you feel refreshed when you drink water. But you never actually consider what it actually does for you. But when you understand that 60 to 70% of your body is essentially water, now imagine when you replenish your body with that very substance that actually engulfs the bulk of your person, how better can life be?
Indeed. Indeed. Please give Dr. the day's proverb.
Our
Dr.
proverbs,
listen to the proverb, you'll give us your interpretation of it.
Our proverbs the whole of this week come from the country of Namibia, the Republic of Namibia. He who runs after good fortune runs away from peace.
He who runs after good fortune runs away from peace. What's the interpretation of this, Dr. Gikenyi?
What I can say is that sometimes for you to do something good, sometimes you need to, like you are trying to go against the grain. That's what I can say. But sometimes for the other people will always see you are running away from peace, but in reality you are trying to make a situation better. That's what I can say. I don't know.
This is a you proverb.
No, it is. And that is a unique and wonderful interpretation.
Isn't it? I love
yes,
it.
It is.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's completely Dr. Gikenyi.
That's if there was a picture next to book of in the book of Proverbs,
It will be this.
It will be
this one. Dr. Magare, people don't know you. Not many people do. Dr. Magare Gikenyi, we see, there's a Nakuru-based doctor who's a rights activist who's taken this many cases to court, challenging very many decisions that are being made at national level, at county level in some cases. You're a consultant, trauma and general surgeon. How long have you been practiced this?
I practiced medicine since the year 2008. That's close to 16 years.
Yep.
So I've been serving patients. Like me, I am a surgeon. Surgeon, we treat by using a knife. So most of the time you find that you are asleep. That's the good aspect of it. So you will not feel pain. So we sort your problem through a knife. Then after we have done the surgery part of it, then we wake you up. So essentially you may not feel pain. So that's what we sort problem. Like in the medical field, we have doctors who treat you. Once you have told him your problem, they give you some medication by writing down. But as surgeons, we sort our problem by using a knife.
You remove the problem.
You remove the problem directly. So sometimes if you do me even a search right now, you may find a knife. Literally.
When did you decide then to start removing problems in society by going to court?
I think it was around 2005. No, 2017. When I was in the university, Mo University, at one time we were joking with one of my lecturers with this politics of US between Trump and Bill Clinton, and not Bill, and Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
So I think one of the lecturers was offended. I was a support of Trump by then. So then I think we were offended. Then I think he raised a complaint to the university that I was a bad doctor at that time. So without being given an opportunity, I was suspended from university just on that political aspect alone. So because of that aspect, so I moved to court. I got the orders of injunction to allow me continue my education. So from that aspect, it gave me some good work. Also, when I was also a young boy, I come from a county called Kisi. We grew up in a very poor farming background. So sometimes when you would go to fetch the water from the river, sometimes you could get some other boys telling you to move away because we came from very poor family background. My dad has 16 children, and so we were not very respected in that society. So because of that, then I said when I grew up, I would try, because I was trying, people were trying to stop me from fetching water. Just like, I don't know for those who live in town, you may not understand. For those who live in the village, fetching water just from a spring, just walk in with your mtungi, and then with some 2 pipes there where you put, and then you take home. So sometimes you always ask, this water's coming a lot, and somebody's
telling you that you can't access it.
Or you have to wait until that person finishes. So I see, in my small aspect as a boy, so this is injustice. I will always try and work against that aspect. Even sometimes when you get sick, I used to go to a dispensary. Sometimes you can stay there for a very long time without being treated that time when you have a simple ailment. So I said when I grow up, I want to be a doctor so that I can do better than what I used to receive in my rural home. There used to be a small dispensary called Kionyo dispensary in Kisi County. So sometimes because of that aspect of medicine, and then just on this side, I say when I grow up, I'll try as much as possible to fight for the other people in society so that you can bring fairness.
That's interesting that you say that, because you went into a profession, the medical profession, obviously, but then what you've said that you consider to be injustices has gone beyond fighting in the medical field, and that's how a lot more people have come to know of you and what you do. And if we can jump right into that, a number of petitions that you've brought forward have then resulted in a number of things, suspension of, particular issues, holding until petitions have been heard, asking. Do you see these, even before we go to the details, do you see these as fighting what you consider to be injustices?
Yes, but I consider this one, I fight this one because we realize sometimes as a society, we need to work hard, especially for those who cannot defend themselves. So, for example, like most people, I can call them the young people. Me and you were the young, because according to WHO, old age starts at 65. Anybody who is below 65 is a young person. So old people start at 65 and above. So sometimes the challenge we have is that sometimes we can make a lot of issues, but we can what we call keyboard warriors. We just talk a lot, but we don't move from that step forward. Sometimes I always say it's good to move forward so that you can fight for what you consider right. For example, when the government introduced IDs, that we are supposed to pay ID 1,000 for a new for those Kenyans who want to be registered as citizens. I think it was fair and fair, because if you realize majority of these IDs, people who apply for them are a university, are just Form 4 leavers.
High school, yeah.
Yes, Form 4s. Where do you get 1,000? Sometimes for those who are in town, you think 1,000 is a small amount.
Small amount.
But even me, when for example, like if I give you my history, even at home getting even 10 bob to buy even some salt is very difficult. So how do you tell somebody? Like in most of our rural villages, our parents don't have money. So that's why I moved to court and said, no, this idea should, even if we were not involved. Sometimes the Constitution of Kenya mandates all policy makers, before they make policy decisions affecting people, let the people be involved. That's why I moved to court and stopped. The same issue with this aspect of e-citizen, where they say that that everybody, every services should be accessed through e-citizen as part of what they call bringing services close to the people. As a Kenyan, I have no problem with that aspect of making services close to the people. But you have to consider other factors. Among the most important factors, that any policy which you make, the first and the most important, even if it's very good, just involve the people. That's the most important aspect. Involve the people. If you have a good idea, well and good, just involve the people. That's what it's not my own liking. It's the Constitution. If you take Article 10, as read with also Article 232, that whatever they did is what you call an administrative action. That administrative action, people should always be involved. They need to be involved. They need to be. What's your opinion? How do you go about it? For example, even the 50 cents, they say they are calling convenience fee. 50 bob, yes. The convenience fee. Sometimes people see when we sit in big tables, we see 50 bob is a small amount. But like I'm sure you land in these universities, most comrades, or what call students, they don't have a 50 bob. Sometimes you can take sukuma wiki ugali, which is ugali used like our time used to be 5 bob. Sukuma wiki is around 5 to 10 shillings. That's around 15 shillings. So if you were to take currently ugali sukuma wiki, you have to take 5 plus 10, which is 50. Then add 50 on top. So your total cost
65.
is 65 for ugali sukuma. Sometimes it doesn't make sense. Sometimes they always say whatever policy decision make, they must be rational. Rational means and very reasonable. If you tell somebody in the street that because of poverty I want to take sukuma wiki ama chapati madondo, which costs around 30 bob. Sometimes it's not that sometimes it's not your wish to take that chapati madondo. It's because of your pocket.
It's your circumstance.
Yes, your pocket is not allowing. Then somebody tells you, before you can eat this chapati madondo or sukuma wiki, which costs 30 bob, add 50 bob for the government in terms of transaction fee or whatever they call convenience fee. That's not rational. Because one of the principles of unconstitutionality is when policymakers make what they call irrational decisions. Irrational decisions are those decisions which does not agree with the normal reasoning of society. That's what I can say.
What's the threshold for engaging the public? When you say before you make any decision, involve the people.
Yes.
So what is sufficient public participation?
As the rule of the general public participation, it's not a must that every Kenyan must be involved. And you don't have to have 50 million giving them their views for that to become law. Once you provide what called sufficient platforms, for example, in the National Assembly, they just put a notice for those who are wishing to do this. You can put up your petition memoranda. You can come physically. For those who wish to come. as far as you have done that, what you call reasonable exposure. For example, if I want to do public participation, I announce right now that people want to give public participation, bring the memoranda. This is 8 a.m. And then by 10 a.m. I close. Isn't that aspect? That's not a real public participation. That's what's called cosmetic public participation. Public participation should be what you call a reasonable man. That's what you call a reasonable man test. If you walk in the street, just ask anybody, not even educated. If I was to put a note today and I close it in the next 1 hour, is that one reasonable?
Yeah, who's going to see it?
Yes, exactly. But for example, you give like all notices in the media, in the website, everywhere, in the emails. You give even a month or something. Then people, not all, if all Kenyans can give public participation, so that's even better. But it's not a matter ever. But you have to try, as a policymaker, you have to try what you can call it reasonable. There's no like a standard way, but forgot to call a reasonable man. If you see something, for example, in your view, you can, even if you didn't go to school, you can say, this looks better.
It does.
Yes, for example,
there must be evidence that you have tried to reach the largest number of people possible.
Yes.
And one can verify that effort has been made.
Yes.
Now, whether they assent to that invitation, that's a different matter, but the effort is clear.
Yes.
Yes.
So you know what happens every time.
Yes.
And like, but we obviously, Doc, this is not the first time you've brought about an objection like this. Petition then ensues.
Yes.
But every time it happens, the backlash that comes, especially from those who instituted the original, idea, is that Kenyans are anti-development and anti-progress that the government is trying to put in place that will essentially help Kenyans. What do you have to say to that? Because you will hear a lot of it. It already started yesterday. The president spoke from overseas and said, you know what? Okay, there's a petition, you're trying to block it, but it's going to happen anyway. What stirs you when you hear things like that?
Number one, I can start like me. I like for development. And most Kenyans are very reasonable. But that's what I always believe. Kenyans are very reasonable. Nobody is against development. For example, this issue of paying school fees through e-citizen is a good idea. It's not a bad idea per se. But number one, there are various flaws. Number one, people were not involved. The involvement of the people is not a choice. Like when the president was swearing in, he was given a constitution and they said he will swear by what the constitution says. This is not my wording. They say wherever policy can be good, involve the people first. So if the constitution is saying, then are you saying that the constitution is bad? That's the same constitution which also gave him the authority to do whatever he wants to be the president. Number two, you have in the process, you must make that whatever decision you make, you must consider all other aspects or all stakeholders in that field. Like in the education sector, we have many stakeholders. We have parents, we have students who are involved, we have education officials, we have even our members of parliament. You also consider about the situation. Like for example, Eric and Charles, if you remember when we were growing up, majority of Kenyans, in fact, are very poor. They live below the poverty line. If you check the WHO, close to 8 million Kenyans live below the poverty line. And if you realize, only 700,000 of Kenyans are employed by government. And then 3.5 million Kenyans are employed in a formal employment, formal. And then 15 million are informal, which means close to 30 million are not employed. For example, education is a right. They always say, as a parent, if you want to leave anything as an inheritance to a child, no, you can give him land, that's an extra, you can give him car, anything. But the best thing you can give a child as an inheritance is just education. If you can give a child education, even if you don't give him anything, he or she will grow up and she will move his or her own life very well. For example, when the school fees, most of us grew up, they were told we grew up in a fairly poor family background. I'm very sure even most of you, when you grew up, that's the same aspect, and that's where you are here. We did not have enough money to pay school fees. Our parents used to, if they have a sack of maize, they just go and talk with the headmaster. have this sack that's converted for fees. You can go even with mbuzi. Ambia mwalimu, to be honest, sina pesa. Yani he or she, the mother or the father, is not that he's faking, it's real. He doesn't have the money. The only thing he can have is mbuzi or a condor or then the maize or beans. Then they ask miwa, exactly. You want to give mwalimu, but you don't have them. Then mwalimu is not my wish, I'm not paying fees. Kindly allow my child, more than not, students are sent back home.
Yes.
Immediately they are sent back home, the parent comes with him or her to the headmaster. Mwalimu, kindly, even if I stay with this child even 3 weeks, to be honest, nothing comes like trying to milk a stone. Just kind of have this sack of maize, convert to fees. I would want to look for others. It's another aspect.
Yeah.
And that's how most of us learn, and we are doctors by virtue of that. And sometimes, so how do you give mbuzi, how do you exchange mbuzi in e-citizen? Even mbuzi itself, if you are trying to put it in the portal, it will not even... the only thing you need to do is, first, you have to go to the market and sell it, and hoping that you will find a buyer.
Daktari,
yes.
Does the directive say you cannot accept mbuzi? The directive from Dr. Bello.
Back there, I'm very sure they does not say, but sometimes I'm saying, what we are saying is that they are saying all fees should be paid by that. So what does the word all? It's an English name.
All encompassing, total.
All, everything. Exactly. We're saying, back they say
without
that,
exception.
Yes.
Without exception.
Yes.
I agree, did not say specific, and mbuzi is not allowed, but when somebody says all, and if you say some, we pay fees in
then
this
we
one.
know that the mbuzi is not included.
Mbuzi is allowed. Because let me tell you, Eric Ombaso, where Kenyans are, majority of us were struggling to survive.
But I think it's a facetious argument. As we're going into the break,
yes,
there is no directive from the ministry that says, headmaster, mzazi akikuja na miwa, kura miwa, toa school fees.
Yes.
Nowhere. But circumstances allow the headmaster to do that, to accept the miwa, to accept the mbuzi. Is it on government paper anywhere?
No, it's not.
Headmaster, you should. So that's what I'm saying.
But Eric, I'm asking you, that's the word. I'm sure you read it.
What does all mean?
What does the word all mean? Just if somebody can look for a dictionary to...
You know, Dr. we had this discussion earlier on. I was the chairman of the board of management of a school in the village, and I was telling him, sometimes a parent has skills.
Yes.
You need to build, they'll come and build for you, but they don't have money.
Yes.
So you convert...
the labor.
Yes.
Exactly.
Into money. So
Yes.
if I'm to go by his reasoning, you can't fit labor into his reason.
Yes.
Dr. Magare Gikenyi is a human rights activist. He is one of several petitioners who have gone to court to challenge this order for school fees to be paid through e-citizen. His is actually the one that has ended up now seeing this suspension pending hearing of the case. He has taken many other cases in court, and we are asking him the thinking behind it, and also just having a conversation to understand this new human rights activist in our midst. He's called the new Okoh Mtata, in the footsteps of Okoh Mtata. But there are many like him. So you've gone into many aspects. So you're challenging some decisions that are being taken by government, and you also now want to introduce some decisions to be made. This is one of churches, though. Why?
In fact, that petition, what I was saying, for example, if you read Article 201 of the Constitution, it says that tax burden should be shared fairly and equitably to all people in society. That's what I was asking even before we close. What does the word all mean? Then, if you look at also the statutes of the Income Law Tax Act, Cap 470 of the laws of Kenya, that's Section 3. As read with Section 13 and the first schedule of the Income Tax Act, it gives exemptions to some groups of people. In fact, it includes even the CS for Treasury can decide to gazette Eric, you as a person not to pay tax. So that's what we were trying to ask the court. What's the rationale for that? Because according to the sources of law, the Constitution is superior than an act of parliament. So that's what we were trying to tell the court. The tax, Kenyans are taxed as a matter of fact. But that tax, in my view, or what the law says, should be shared. That burden should be shared equally among all peoples in society. That was the basis what I was saying. Find that first. 2:1 says the tax burden should be shared equally. It's like if you were to carry a bag of maize, which we are supposed to eat for the whole family. You cannot allow 2-3 people to carry, then the other one is just relaxing. Saying, oh, just carry me, my work is just eating. So that's what I was trying to put across. That generally, let us have. In fact, if you remember even before this one, MPs never used to pay tax. Of course, after the petition which was filed, they started. But what we're trying essentially saying is that most of us were suffering because of the tax burden. But what I'm also saying at the same time, that let this tax burden be shared equally and equitably. It does not matter which sectors of the economy you are. If you are in the media industry, pay the income tax. If you are in the medical industry, tax. If you are in the religious industry, tax. If you are in the everywhere, tax. That was the basis of the argument.
So, Daktari, how do you decide which cases to take to court? Do you receive petitions from people, lakini najua daktari, I think peleka hii kotini, or do you sit and see something and you think, this one I need to take to court?
Yes, first you have to know the current. You have to read newspapers, get media, so that you can know the current aspect. In addition, most of the time, most of my work as a surgeon, I'm very busy. I'm also an employee of county government of Nakuru. So I wake up very early in the morning, normally around 7 or 8 after eating breakfast.
That's very early.
I go to do the hospital. Sometimes I also teach our young colleagues, doctors, so that they can become like us. After that, I do ward rounds. Just you ensure that all patients are okay. Then you do surgery in the theater. Then essentially the whole day ends in that aspect. So by ukitoka around 4-5 or thereabout, you come home, you see your family. I like a family generally, like me, I like children and our family as a whole. Because sometimes after all said and done, the family refreshes you and moves on. But sometimes during that time you find that there's something which you have learned during the day, which needs, in my opinion, attention. I have a computer in my home, so you go there and then you draft a petition. Yourself there between 8 to even 10, or between 10 to 1 a.m.
You make it sound like a hobby where somebody would read a book. Well, I draft petitions when I'm bored.
Yes, I like drafting.
I journal.
Yes. I like drafting petition, and even after that, I like writing submissions. Submissions is what you tell the court to you are thinking, apart from the facts that you are thinking and the basis of the law. Then because of the e-filing system, which was brought by former Chief Justice Maraga, so by 1 a.m. you just file online and they pay through M-Pesa. And then you wait for the case to take its natural course, the court to hear what your view, they agree with you or they disagree with you, and life moves on.
Does it? This is the thing, that, you can't run away from speculation and conspiracy, etc., etc. Yes. But there are many folks also, maybe who would sit in the container of backlash, who are saying that you're sponsored by people. These people, interestingly enough, could either be on the government side who are actually not all right with what's happening in government. These people could be on the other side of government who actually just want to make sure that they're a constant, thorn in the government's flesh, but that you, Daktari, are not acting on your own. What do you have to say about that?
First, this is the first time I'm getting that aspect.
Really?
There has been those aspects of that, I'm sponsored, generally, to be honest, I always believe if I gave you my history where I grew up, I don't like what I consider injustice, especially for those who cannot defend themselves. Charles and Eric and Okoh, what I'm trying to put across is that if you look in Kenya, there are 3 major groups of people. They're what called the upper class, the who owns Kenya. They have billions in banks and others outside. Then there's what's called the low class. The low class is the person who wakes up one morning, the only thing he or she thinks is how to eat. He doesn't even think about security. Security comes third and fourth. Then there's the middle class, where majority of us lie. In the middle class, they also divided into two. There's some people in the middle class who says, as far as I come to work, I eat, let that happen, whatever happens. Even if the dollar reaches 1,000, hiyo ni shida yake. I don't do anything. And there are others like us who said, fine, they see something's is happening. Can we do something? So I think I'm in that group. So for example, like for the story I told that I grew up in a fair farmer background, but currently I'm employed among the few privileged 700,000 government employees. So if I was to be safe in quotes, I would just relax. Let it, even the ID, like me niko na ID. What if you got 1,500,000? Hiyo ni shida yake. So not like that. E-citizen, and I can afford 50 bob. But there's some people who say like, this is not fair. And that person in the village who cannot eat, cannot even find money. I'm using my money to file a petition. When you file a petition, it's not free. I use my hard-earned money, my salary, my everything, to file a petition on behalf of the public. So I'm losing in terms of income. So, but I'm saying, let me lose this in terms of income as far as we can make a better society than we found it. Eric, if you remember, we don't live for eternity in this world we're in. In fact, if we were to consider 50 years down the line, even 100 years from the line, all of us, we may not be here.
We'll be gone.
Yeah.
Sometimes you always wonder, why would we use a lot of energy to fight even for land, for everything? When 50 years down the line, none of us will, even 100 years from now, none of us will be around. But the most important aspect is that wherever we are, let us make our society a better place than we found it. They always say, you may not change the world. You cannot change the world. But they always say, do something small which can make us a better place than you found it.
So you are driven by self.
Yes.
By what you believe in.
Yes.
You're not sponsored by anybody.
Yes, I'm not sponsored by anybody.
So you sit and you see something has happened, you maybe read the papers, you watch the news, you follow social media, then you see something and it pricks you and you feel this is unfair.
Yes.
You go and sit down on your computer.
Yes.
You file a petition, you pay for it.
Yes.
And you take it to court.
Yes.
And you seek an immediate injunction pending the hearing.
Yes.
Do you have the commitment to see through a case? Do you have the resources to see through a case? And I'm asking that because there are those who may say that, what you are is basically just vexatious. You just want to be the rabble rouser. Serikali imesema nini leo? Put an injunction on it. But then you have so many injunctions at the same time.
Yes. But,
you do not have legal representation. You're working alone. So you will not be able to sustain all these cases at the same time.
But I can. Because for example, I start a petition, preparing a petition after I've eaten around 7 a.m. I write a petition for around 4 or 5 hours. By 1 a.m., the petition is fully. Then I file it through online. Already, by Fajr, I'm sleeping at 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. That's a sacred. Because 8 or 7 a.m., I'm supposed to be in the hospital. Then, in addition to that, I don't have legal representation. The law allows anybody to represent himself or herself. So I represent myself. The good aspect nowadays, there's what's called e-filing, and there's what's called Google Teams, where you can essentially appear in court where you are. That's why sometimes when the case appears, whether I'm in a theater, I just walk in. There's a room there within theater. I discuss with the judges. Then they give direction. Then once I've finished everything, medical at around 10 p.m. to 1 a.m., I make submissions. And even the Kenya law, the authorities are there. You download, attach, then you send. Then you leave the judgment for the court. The judgment can agree with me or can disagree with me. Whatever they decide, so okay. It's not a must you have to win, but sometimes as a society, you need to do what you believe in. What happens afterwards is none of your business. For example, like the president says that. The reason why he wants to bring these fees to e-citizen to avoid some schools charging levies, that might be a good idea. But the same argument that, for example, these roads we travel in cause accidents, people died. Dying is not a good thing. But we don't close the roads by virtue of that. You make policies to prevent what you are trying to sort out. I think that's why we have laws. When something happens, you don't
shut the whole thing down.
Exactly. Just make policies. For example, a whole president saying that they want to do that. He has every instruments of power to do that. He has DCI, he can investigate, he has officers, he can go. If we have 1 or 2 teachers who are misappropriating funds, they should be held accountable. But generally, what I know from my honest experience, teachers are among the best professionals I know about. Of course, you can't miss 1 or 2 was one of issues, which is the same like in all professions. Like in the media, most people you are good, but you cannot miss 1 or 2 is like even the medical profession we are also good, but you cannot miss 1 or 2 is. But by value 1 or 2 doctors is bad. You cannot say close the whole medical fraternity or all the
close all hospitals.
So that's what I'm saying at the end. If there is a problem with that, my view is that let us have checks and balances. Let's have policies. But when you are also doing that, the hallmark of anything just involve the people.
This is it. And I think it's interesting that that's where you come back to at the end of the day.
Yes.
That if you're going to have a constitution which upon it rests sovereign power in the people, that decisions that you're going to make which affect them should include them at the very beginning.
Yes.
So as you keep saying that, then I hear you also saying that you have no personal gain that you're after here.
Exactly.
But you're saying, look, can we have a people-centered governance whereby people are involved for you to then go ahead and execute what then the people have said? Is that correct?
Yeah. Like for example, my issue just to bring out what I think is a problem in society. You bring it out. You tell those institutions which have been put by the Constitution, which you are supposed to do. For example, when a bill is there, you write petition to Parliament. The normal things. When you have an issue which does not need Parliament, you move to court and do ABC. So at the end of the day, the hallmark of doing these things is to make a society better. While you are doing that, sometimes you as a person you suffer because sometimes there's a risk. I'm very sure you have had some people getting lost and never found. But so be it. If that is the solution, the other people assuming something happens, assuming. I don't know who would do it, but assuming. There are people who will remain. That society will be better, even if I'm not around. They will be better by my issues I raised than I left them. The principle is that leave the society a better place.
You are prepared to pay the price.
Yes. So that even in terms of financial aspect, filing a petition is not cheap. The users, for example, this main petition is they take a lot of your financial aspect, they take a lot of your time. Then I'm also supposed to serve my patients. I've also, apart from this, I also have passion to serving on my patients. Majority of patients who come to public hospitals are not, I cannot say, I can say not very rich, but the so-called the middle class, they are those who have insurance, they rarely come to public hospitals. So I am serving what I consider the poorest of the poor in society. I put myself in their shoe when I was growing up. So I also I don't want to be paid by the government without working. That it means also I will be stealing from government. For example, if you are paid and you don't see patients, then it's not fair. That's why normally I always do most of my petition at night, between 8 a.m. to around 1 a.m. when I've done all the patient. But even when I'm doing the patients, the petition, if I get a call from the hospital, an emergency has occurred, somebody has been shot, like in the surgical field, you find somebody has been gunned, some 2-3 bullets in the abdomen. You have to leave that petition, because the petition you can continue tomorrow. You rush to theater, you stand there for 3, 4, 5 hours trying to sort out that patient so that the patient can be alive. You sort him or her out. If there is matumbo imetoka nje, unarudisha ndani. Kama medungwa kisu when they were there, unajaribu repair. Not like that. Unamwongezea damu. You step, because I want also my patient to have a good outcome. And at the end of the day, when I find a patient who was about to die and I've done something surgically, and the patient comes better and he walks out of that gate, it gives me a lot of motivation. I've said I've made a life, somebody's wife, somebody's son, somebody's daughter, to have a second chance in life. And it gives me that satisfaction. Even when I walk in the street, I find a patient who operated long time ago. Daktari, unisaidia mzee wangu. I just feel very happy.
I feel happy.
I may not even remember him or her, but I feel very happy. So that's why I'm saying that as a society, whereas we are also working the aspect of medical, we also need to, in the human rights aspect, we also need to ensure our patients get the best care, even if they are poor. Being poor should not be a crime.
It shouldn't be.
Yes.
Daktari, if somebody felt, okay, I have some time.
Yes.
And maybe I can donate my time to Daktari.
Yes.
For research, for one or two things.
Yes.
Can they do that?
Yeah, it would be extremely hard.
Can you form a team?
Okay.
And then how do you guard against that team being infiltrated by saboteurs?
Like I'm sure you have learned about management. The buck stops at the boss. If you, for example, you are head of this group, if one of you have to monitor part of management, the so-called leadership and management. A manager does to ensure society moves on. Yeah, there's a day-to-day running. A leader keeps with that idea so that it can bring that aspect of it. And so if you are the head of that leader, you are a leader in that group, you ensure that policies, the vision, everything. Because if you leave an organization to run on autopilot mode, then at the end of the day, the vision, the initial vision gets lost in between. Yeah, you have to work extremely hard so that you ensure what you work for it is better. But the hallmark of everything, that let us leave this society a better society than we found it. Sometimes there will always be challenges. Sure. I don't disagree. Sometimes this aspect, what we are doing, is not for the faint-hearted. You need to put your head for everything, put your head above the crowd. Okay. But for the betterment of society.
If somebody called you today,
yes,
Daktari, I have a dossier.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And I want to give you this dossier.
Yes.
And this person happens to be maybe a person in government or person in opposition or person with political dreams and aspirations.
Yes.
They tell you, I have this dossier, I'll even all those fees that you need to pay. I'll give you the money, you file this thing. But file it. You're the face of the petition. Would you accept?
I told you, let me answer yes or no. The first answer. Let me explain. I say what I'm doing should be objective. You see the petition, what it's trying to put across, and then you consider what the law says. For example, if you find somebody which says that somebody is planning to take all the fees of the students to take for personal use. He has brought you that dossier. Unangalia, what does the Constitution do? Does the Constitution allow a private person walk in with some public money?
No.
It doesn't matter the source of that information. What it says is objective. Look at that issue objectively. Is this what is bring? For example, if it says
merit?
Is there merit? If, for example, says merit, Eric, I don't like Eric. His face is not good. Let us take him to court.
To change that face.
Change that face. Or we ensure that he is fired. It's not like that. So unaangalia from you can always see what objectively face here, Eric, how does it affect you? More like
Serious,
that.
if you want to
Exactly. Then you see that this one is not you look at the underlying word, if you can remember everything, is the objectiveness and what the law says.
Ananichafua roho.
Exactly.
Every time nikimwangalia.
Yes.
It affects my quality of life.
Yes. So that's what I'm trying to put across. At the end of the day, the issue is the what?
Objective.
Is objectivity and what does the law? Because, like, for example, the court of law they're not like wagangas. Where they chago this one, then they find the answer is B. They use the law. So you have to say this one is what was done. The law says this one.
Very good.
Yes.
Daktari, thank you very much for joining us. Dr. Magare Gikenyi is a human rights activist. He's also a doctor working in Nakuru County. He's been our guest, and we hope to have you here many other times to come. Makofi tafadhali kwa daktari. Thank you very much for what you're doing.
Thanks a lot. Also.
Keep doing that. People are saying on social media, let's clap for you. Let's urge you to continue doing what you're doing.
Otherwise, I appreciate also for giving time to come. But the hallmark, we said, let us make the society a better society than we found it.
Indeed.
Thanks a lot.
This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.